Hello and welcome to Cretaceous Cantina. Today we're having a look at the Mattel Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom Roarivores Triceratops. This is the very first of the Roarivores assortment that I have picked up. I came across it at Toys R Us, on clearance of course since they're going out of business at 20% off, $11.99. And it's the one Roarivores dinosaur from Wave 1 that most appealed to me. I do intend to get the others at some point, but I really wanted the Triceratops. Packaging is pretty much the same as we have been seeing. It's actually quite similar to the Battle Damage line exclusively available at Walmart. It's partially enclosed over here on this side, a lot of it's open on the other. And you can test out the action feature before buying. Shows you how that works right down here. Nice coloration. I like the packaging overall. I think it looks great. At the back, you have an even more detailed looking Triceratops than the final product, but that's kind of been par for the course with a lot of these Fallen Kingdom toys. Tells you to push the button for sound and hit ramming attack. Get the Jurassic Facts app to enhance your Jurassic playing experience. Other dinos available in the Roarivores assortment. Alright, let's go ahead and get her opened up and we'll see what the Triceratops is like. Alright, and once you get the Triceratops out of the packaging, you will see that she is missing half of her tail. Well, the Roarivores assortment is set up so that the tail is packed separately alongside the figure. If we consult our instructions, basically tells us what we need to do. Plug it in, plug it in. And do note that it is a one-time assembly. Once the tail goes in, it doesn't come out. So inside there, you can kind of see what looks to be a spring way in there. So we're going to go ahead and get this in there. There we go, it's snapped in place. So it is in. Our Triceratops is now whole and looking very nice, I might add. I really like the silhouette of this figure. I like the proportions. It looks like a pretty scientifically accurate Triceratops. I like it. One thing that Mattel is doing really well on these figures is giving them really good sculpts for the most part. I might not agree 100% with the anatomy in some cases, but the same holds true on this figure. The sculpted detail just looks really good. I also really like the color. I'm not sure how film accurate it necessarily is, but I still think it looks good and it works. This is really the only Triceratops we have in the line that's of a good size, better scale with the rest of the line. Let's go ahead and take a look at her head. I like it. Like I said, this figure has a very nice sculpt. It looks very much like a Jurassic Park Triceratops, and I think that's probably what drew me most to it. Like I said, this is the one Roarivores I was mostly looking forward to, and it really looks a lot like that Triceratops from the very first Jurassic Park, and very nice. Very nicely done. The frill just has some really good sculpted detail to it. Lots of nice texturing embedded in here. Even on the beak, you can see there's a lot of nice little bits of detail that have been accomplished there. The horns have a little bit of sculpting, wear and tear on them, which is pretty nice. That's also quite close to Jurassic Park, and I do appreciate that. And underneath the head, the rest of the body also looks really good. I mean, I really like all the texturing. Look behind the frill. They even bothered to give her detail there. That's pretty awesome. The legs look very nice. Tail looks very nice. Looks anatomically Triceratops. At the bottom here, still looks good, but then you have everything else going on down here, like the battery box, the sound hole, all of that stuff. It's interesting how there's like a metal plate looking thing in there. If you wanted to scan the Triceratops to use the Jurassic Facts app, you would scan her foot right there. As far as the paint goes, it's a really rusty looking brown sort of color. It has kind of an orangey tinge to it. And at the back, you do have these brown markings that go alongside her back. They don't extend all the way down the tail, which seems to be a running theme for the Jurassic World line from Mattel. And nothing really going on the bottom. You will see that on the back of her hind legs, there is kind of like a little bit of more of a yellowy brown looking spray. So that is an interesting thing that they only applied there. Now, as far as the paint goes, it mostly looks good. I do like the color scheme. I think that it's not 100% accurate to Jurassic Park or Jurassic World, but it still looks good. The issues that I have are with the QC. Pretty much all of the Triceratopses I have seen from the Roarivores line have imperfect paint, particularly on the heads. If you look at the bony protrusions along her frill, those look pretty good. Some of them I've seen where they have a lot of paint rubs on them. This one doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look too bad. There's a few little issues, but nothing really significant. The biggest problem I have is how the paint is a little sloppily applied along the base of the horns. can see that it's a little bit too much. They should have restrained it a little bit more, kept that more, into the actual horn, because it kind of seeps out into the skin area. It doesn't necessarily detract from the overall aesthetic all that much, but it is the biggest issue that I've personally seen on Triceratops. For pretty much all of them that I've seen in the stores. To a lesser extent, the same is true for the nose horn right there. I mean, other than that, she does look quite good. I'm not really seeing any other flaws with the figure. There's a little, I don't know what you would call that, something with the sculpt, I guess, there, kind of peeking through the paint. I have seen this on several Triceratopses as well. As far as the actual eyes go, that's a really important thing that I always look at. The eyes look really good on my figure. I think that, that's definitely the Triceratops eye from Jurassic Park. Opposite side looks good as well. And of course, you have the little specks of black plastic that kind of peek through the entire figure that Mattel opted to go with. Now, as far as the articulation goes, you can see that the head does move, but that is more ingrained in the action feature, so I wouldn't really necessarily call that a usable point of articulation. You can have her move her legs. They go forward and back here at the front, and they also go outwards. And that is something that not even the Stegosaurus had for the action attack line, so I'm happy to see it here. Back legs as well, they're going to go out. They're going to be able to be spun. And, that really helps with posing and playability, so I'm really happy that they opted to give her that articulation. It just adds to the overall play experience. And for the action feature, so you are going to see the button right here. So you basically just press it, and you'll see that she rears her head upward, and depending on how you're holding the figure, it can kind of move to the side a little bit. So it kind of just sounds like she's lumbering along. And I'm counting about 3 or 4 different unique sound effects. So there's that one where she's walking along. There's that one, which is kind of like a longer howl type sound. There's that one, kind of similar. It seems like they kind of come on randomly. They're not really like in a certain kind of order or anything. The sounds just come out, whatever comes out. I like it. I think that the action feature itself seems to work okay. It's a fun toy. You're playing around with it like a kid. That's kind of fun to do. You could make her interact with other dinosaurs. So I think it works pretty well here. I'm happy with it. For the length, you're going to be looking at about 11.5 inches. And for the height, so the top of the hip, we're looking at about 4.25 inches. Here's a comparison with the Kenner Jurassic Park Triceratops from 1993. I remember picking that up at Walmart when I was 8 years old. And she's still in beautiful shape. And just looking at them together, it's comparable in terms of how authentic it looks to the Jurassic Park Triceratops. I actually think this looks a little bit closer. I think that looks a little bit more like Triceratops from the film. This is close, but there's some issues with the anatomy of the head and the horns that make it a little bit off. No doubt the coloring, I think, is more interesting with the Kenner Triceratops. There were actually 2 versions of the Triceratops in slightly different paint schemes. This one is the more greenish looking one. One thing that I do think that the Mattel one has over the Kenner one, though, is that the back is nice and arched. She's got a nice thick tail. And if you look at the Kenner one, biggest issue I have with her anatomy is that she kind of looks like a big rhinoceros or elephant type creature. She's got a really long back. It's not really accurate to how a Triceratops should look. It's still a wonderful toy. There's no doubting that, for its day and even now, it still holds up really well as a toy. She's also got similar head ramming action. She's got the dino damage that is present there. But this is nice. I'm happy with it. If we were even to compare it to something like the Lost World Triceratops, which is just this little itty bitty thing right here. It's cool for what it is. But, that sculpt isn't anything, outstanding in my opinion. It's kind of simple, in fact. Just a little plastic Triceratops. I I think this looks the best. I mean, as far as the sculpt goes, I still prefer the Kenner one because of the nostalgia and because it's a big rubbery dinosaur. But this is definitely my second favorite in the line, and I think it's probably the most accurate looking Jurassic Park Triceratops that we've gotten. And as a bonus, here's the Papo Triceratops. You can see that they actually look quite similar. Papo did a really good job recreating the Jurassic Park Triceratops. And I think that serves as further evidence that the new Mattel Jurassic World Triceratops looks closest to that aesthetic. It's a little bit bigger than that, and obviously it's not anywhere near as detailed as she is. But, I mean, it's definitely closer than any of the other offerings from these toy lines. Alright, my friends, so there you have it. This is the Mattel Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom Roarivores Triceratops. Overall, you guys, I like this dinosaur quite a bit. I think Mattel is doing a wonderful job with their dinosaurs for the Fallen Kingdom toy line. And this is no exception. I'm really happy with the overall sculpt. I think the coloring works for the figure. I'm happy with it. Articulation is spot on. The action feature is quite nice. I think that it works quite well. I do feel like she's a little bit small for a Triceratops, and therefore probably isn't going to scale too well with most of the dinosaurs from this toy line. So perhaps this is just like a sub-adult or something. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing a larger Triceratops, perhaps in the action attack line. But for now, I am quite happy with this Triceratops. I think she's great. I really do like her. Alright, my friends, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If so, do give us a like, do subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down below. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and subscribe to the Cantina Chatter podcast on iTunes. And as always, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to Cretaceous Cantina. Until next time, bye-bye.